today, Dr. Najdowski is here with us to talk a little bit about establishing operations and maybe help us to know how we can use this in a positive way and notice when we're using it in a negative way. Because an establishing operation, in my mind, it's something that can be your best friend or the thing that sinks your battleship. So tell me if I'm completely barking up a wrong tree.
Well, an establishing operation increases the effectiveness of a reinforcer, and it's an abolishing operation that would decrease the effectiveness. So is that what you're getting at when you say it can either be your best friend or...
Well, I'm thinking, depending on what the reinforcer is, if I want to set, I think of it as setting my child up for success.
Yeah.
That if I have an EO and I'm using it properly, I set myself and him up for success so that we're more likely to get a target behavior that I want to see. But sometimes I blow it and I set up circumstances in which the only thing that can possibly be set up for success is a nightmare.
Okay. So give me an example of that.
Well, and I was saying earlier that, if I'm underslept and my child is underslept, and that's the moment in which I want to give him something that's outside the norm of what we normally do, I pretty much have ensured that I'm going to get some pushback from him, and in the worst circumstance, I'm going to get a tantrum.
I see.
But I could set up the circumstances in a way so that if I'm going to teach something that's a little bit difficult, that I'm more likely to get to success by taking care of a couple of things in the environment.
Right. So basically the easy way to think about it is just think about reinforcers and things that you provide as consequences to your child when you're trying to teach them things and you're trying to increase behaviors. And then think about how the value of those reinforcers can be altered based on other situations and events. So obviously it would just be good practice to constantly be thinking about whether or not that reinforcer is still going to be valued or not. So, and how can we make it more valuable if we need to?
Okay, so let's say that the kid is really into Buzz Lightyear, that's the thing that they're really into. So, and I'm thinking about thinking, how can I make Buzz Lightyear more valuable?
Right.
How can I make it super powerful? They love Buzz Lightyear, and I want to make it more powerful.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with, how often the child gets access to it. If it's your only reinforcer and you're doing therapy for 6-8 hours a day, you're going to have a problem because satiation is going to kick in.
Right.
And so what we want to do is actually save it for, if it's the most powerful thing, then save it for what's the biggest priorities during teaching.
So it means that Buzz Lightyear, and this is hard for parents because they think, so he loves Buzz Lightyear and I'm going to make Buzz Lightyear not available all the time. But I always say we want to think of it as not teasing them and saying, look, I'm taking Buzz Lightyear and I'm putting him away and making them think about it, but just, preoccupying them when we're doing something else and not having Buzz Lightyear just available all the time. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm thinking too that there are other things like there are different kinds of Buzz Lightyear dolls and there's Buzz Lightyear stickers, and having a new Buzz Lightyear that does something that the other one doesn't, I would imagine that would be pretty incredible too.
Definitely.
Okay.
And then also think about it with respect to food. That's important because if you're using edible reinforcers, then you have to remember that there's also that problem of satiation. And so sometimes I've seen people where they give the child their entire lunch and just give them a chance to have a break and eat their lunch, and then immediately afterward they start running lessons and they want to use food now as a reinforcer, and it's not going to work.
Right.
And so that's when I'm an advocate to say, okay, well, don't use food right now, use something else.
Right.
Or if you're going to be using food, then try to teach still while they're eating their lunch, if you can.
Right.
So.
And I think it's just we're talking about minute things, but they're minute things that have such a big, big impact. I know when we've talked about using meals as reinforcers before, people get concerned about, well, are you telling the child, if you don't do this, you won't get to eat? And I think that's looking at ABA the wrong way entirely to begin with.
Right.
Because when I have seen ABA done really well with quality ABA, they're ensuring that the child gets to success on a regular basis, and I mean like every 10 seconds.
Yeah.
That it's not like spending a whole hour where the child didn't get to success. That would never happen in a good quality ABA program where you're using food as a reinforcer.